Alright, in this repair video from the NintendoRepairShop.com, right here we have a Nintendo DSi system with a broken hinge on the left side, and a symptom where when you turn it on you will see the blue light will come on and flash periodically, and then the lower LCD will flash. So see, the blue light will come on and the lower LCD will flash, and what that tells us, as you may have seen in our quick diagnostic video, is that the motherboard can no longer detect the upper LCD or the camera, either or, because the ribbon cable has become damaged in the hinge right here. So what we are going to do is we are going to replace the upper LCD or the camera depending on which one is damaged, and then we are going to fix the shell hinge over there and get this system working like new again. So what you're going to need is what we have right here is a number 0 Phillips head screwdriver. Very nice, skinny. We just got it from Ace Hardware. Some good tweezers. Preferably with sort of a pointy tip on them. You need this to get in ribbon cables into their respective slots. I also have a very small flathead screwdriver. I like that for sort of prying things open and stuff like that. And then we have an exacto knife here, or a hobby knife, or whatever you want to call it. We'll use that to be getting some rubber pads off and things like that. So let's get into it. Let's flip the system over, and we will remove the battery. There's 2 screws right here for the battery. We're going to go ahead and take those off right now. I'll tell you what, let me turn this light on. There we go. Alright. So let's take that battery off. Battery cover off. Pull the battery from the top. Has a little tab on it, just comes right out. Alright, now we are going to get out these little rubber tabs that are on either side of the game slot, and those house some hidden screws underneath. So I'm going to take my little flathead screwdriver and sort of jam it in there under one side, and then kind of pry up on it to get it out. So sometimes these can be very annoying to get out. There we go. That's one. We're going to go ahead and get the second one out. So just jam your screwdriver in there and sort of pry it out. Oh, there we go. Okay, got those 2 out. Now we have some Phillips head screws. You got one here on the top of the battery, one here on the bottom corner, one here on the left corner, one there, one there, one there, and then one little black screw by the game slot. So let's go ahead and take all of those out now. Alright, now we are going to pull up on the back of the shell, back here by the game slot. Sort of stick your finger in there and pull up on the black shell. The back part will open up a little bit, and then we are going to open the system here. While we're holding the back with our index finger and middle finger there, we are going to reach around the front, and we are going to stick the screwdriver in the seam right here between the outer shell and this bezel that's around the lower LCD. So it's on the outer side here. So we're going to sort of stick the screwdriver in there somehow without hurting ourselves. And sometimes there may be soda or something in there sticking it together. So there we go. We have the screwdriver in there. We're going to sort of pry that open on the top there, slide down a little bit, do the same thing, and the back of this system, or the back shell, should just lift up from the front. And then we have this one ribbon cable right here. We're going to grab our small screwdriver. We are just going to lift up on one edge of that, disconnect that, and then there's the back side of our system. We don't need that right now, so let's go put that over there. Alright, so next we are going to remove the ribbon cable from the power board. Over here on the right side there's this little ribbon cable going from the power board over to the motherboard. We are going to lift up the black clip on that and then we can just grab our tweezers and pull that ribbon cable right out of there. So once that ribbon cable's out, you can put the black bar back down just to protect it if you want to. So next we'll reach over down to the bottom here. We have this the red and black power from the battery down here on the bottom of this power board here going into the motherboard. We're going to reach our tweezers underneath the wires on the back side of that white clip. Reach it right under there, and you're going to lift straight up. So we'll lift straight up to get that out. And so that's out right now. Bend that out of the way. So now our motherboard is disconnected from the power board. So let's go ahead and disconnect the Wi-Fi module right here. This is big black thing right here. So we'll just lift up on the left side of this to unclip it, flip it over, and you can see we have the antenna wire running up through that. So reach underneath this plastic tape right here, and that will release the wire, and then reach your tweezers underneath the you see where the white wire comes to this clip here. We're going to reach right on the back side of that and pull it straight off. So pull it right off the top there, and then we'll set that over to the side. Now we have our microphone wire down here, which is this sort of peach colored one. So we'll reach under that, and we will lift that right off the motherboard. Let's disconnect our camera right here, which is the black cable you see right here. So we'll lift up on that black bar on the motherboard and pull the ribbon cable right out of there. Close the bar down. Now let's take the screws out so that the motherboard will come off of the inside shell. So let's go ahead and get rid of those screws, and those screws are up here in the top right corner. We have a little shiny Phillips head screw. Over here we have 1, 2, 3 little black screws. We're going to take those out. So let's do that now. Alright, and with those out, you can open up the system, reach inside, push on the touchscreen right here on the LCD, the lower LCD of the touchscreen, and the whole motherboard should come right out. And then we are going to lift up the black bar on this, on the inside here, lift up the black bar for the upper LCD ribbon cable, and pull that ribbon cable out. And now the motherboard is disconnected from the system. We'll go ahead and set that to the side. Alright, so right now, let's go ahead and pull the microphone and antenna wires out of the case. Get those out of the way, and we will open up the case. And so right now, let's see, we should have to open up, because right now with our hinge right here, you can see it's damaged right there. And so I can just pull this right out, but we will, I'll show you what to do if your shell is still intact. We're going to have to get our exacto knife, and we are going to have to remove these 4 little black covers that you see on the upper half of the system. We're going to remove those now. So stick your exacto knife in on one side. Make sure you're careful because this will slice you open. So put it in on one side, and you're going to lift up and remove those little black things. So let's do all 4 of those. Alright, so now that we have those 4 black covers out, we're going to remove the 4 screws that you see that you've just uncovered, and that will open up the upper half. Alright, now with those screws gone, we're going to pick up the upper half, and if you hold the system like this, so the top of the system facing up, just hold it open. We're going to swing the bottom out like this, So we have the top of the system here and the inside of the system here where the motherboard went. And the way this works is that the outer part of this top half is going to slide that way, and the inside is going to slide that way. And so we will do that now. So if we hold it like this and we slide it, the top part is going to go to the right, and the top part's going to go to the right, and the bottom part is going to go to the left. So let's do that now. So if you slide on either side or just right in the middle, you can see the upper half just sort of slid right out. So we're going to do that, and then the top part of the top half should just come right off. We'll set that to the side for now. And here we are on the inside of the system. So now, if your hinge is not broken, in order to get this hinge axle out right here, which you are sort of lucky you can see how it goes in there, but we are going to have to reach in this little cutout right here, and we're going to have to, the only way I've sort of figured it out is to dig a screwdriver in there, and you're going to push your screwdriver into it and push it that way. So push it towards the left. If you're holding the system like this, so it will open up behind you, we're going to stick our screwdriver in there, and we are going to try to pull that out. Oh, and now it's pretty easy. So the hinge will slide in towards the inside of the system, and now the hinge on that side will become detached, and then you can slide the right side out of that hinge down there. And now for the fun part, we get to try to get all of these ribbon cables out. And also in the case of this system right here, the ribbon cables are extremely destroyed inside of the hinge. But normally right here, if you see on the inside, there's a little slot right there. That little slot is where you will hold the ribbon cables, and that's where they will slide through. So the inside of the shell right here is going to slide that way, and the top part is going to slide down. So let's go ahead and do that now, or at least try to. Oh, there it goes. So you see the ribbon cables go right into that slot there. The ribbon cables will come out, and then our other cables will sort of just slide out of that hinge. So now we are done with the bottom inner part. We're going to set that off to the side. And now here we are on the top half. So judging by this system right here, it looks like we are probably going to have to replace both the camera and the LCD. Just judging by the ribbon cables are pretty destroyed. So, but the microphone, which is this peach one here, and the antenna look to be just fine. So we will go ahead and grab the antenna wire, which is the white one, and pull up on the antenna there, like that. The antenna comes out of the system right there, and then we'll just pull it through the hinge there. Antenna comes out, set that over to the side, and then we are going to grab our tweezers, and we are going to grab the peach wire down here in the middle behind the microphone. We're going to grab that, loosen that up, and then pull that out through the hinge like we did with the antenna there. And it's a little bit stuck, but there we go. Set that over to the side. So now we are going to get these ribbon cables out. So let's reach on the inside here, the part that would face you normally if you had the system assembled. We're going to put our finger and push upon the top screen there, push it out towards you if you're holding it this way. So we're going to push that screen out of the shell, just like that, and you'll hear the glue coming off, and then there we go. So the screen is now out, and we will release the speakers. So here's our ribbon cables right here. And now to get these ribbon cables through the hinge so you can release it, you're going to grab your ribbon cable, and like I said, this one is pretty destroyed, so this one's going to take some creative working here, but normally, and I may not actually be able to do this, but normally you would sort of roll them up, you know, kind of nice and tight, and stick it back through that hole there. But these are so destroyed I can't get it through, but you will see later in the video when we put it back through, you'll see how I roll it up then. So I am actually just going to grab the exacto knife, and this is only in this case because both of them are destroyed and we have to replace both the upper LCD and the camera. Can I cut both of them? So we are just going to cut those off because otherwise I'm never going to be able to get those through that hinge there. So we cut the upper LCD and we cut the camera. We're going to take those, throw those away. And as you're pulling the speakers out and stuff, you may notice all these things falling out. We have this little black mesh thing, and then we have these white rings that like to roll around. We have these little white rings. Make sure you save those. You should have 2 of each. Make sure you save those, put those in a safe place. We will need those later on. Alright, so the LCD and the camera are free. We'll pull that speaker out, and there is our other black mesh piece is stuck in the shell here. There it is. Oh, this system came with 2. Wow. Extra points there. Okay, so here is the top outer part of our system here. So the screen would sit right inside of there. So we are going to go over and get our new LCD and our new camera, and we are going to reattach all of our speakers and stuff to that and reassemble the system. Alright, so now that we have our new camera and we have our new LCD, we are going to put them together. We're going to take our camera, flip it around, put it on the LCD. You may look at the back of the LCD. It has some angled little indentions on it, and we have one here that runs that is sort of an L shape like that, that's sitting right there, and then we have one down here that is like that. It's sort of angled down there, and that tells us where the ribbon cable goes for the camera, because you may look on the camera has some sticky points on it that will help stick it to the correct place. So sort of line the camera up with those indentions on the LCD, and that'll help you get it lined up into the relatively close to where it should be. So we'll put those on there, sort of stick it on there, and if you still have it sort of flying off, you can grab some masking tape, and you can put a little of that on the back of it, and that'll sort of just hold it on there better, because once the adhesive is put on there once or twice, it sort of loses its stickiness. So we'll go ahead and put that on there, put that masking tape on there. That'll really hold it on there. So now for the ribbon cables. This is the fun part, and I mean that very sarcastically. So the camera is on the outside, and so we're going to sort of roll these cables up together, and you can see however much you do that, they hate each other. So we're going to try, at least, to sort of roll them up together. You're going to get them relatively tight, not too tight though, because you don't want to damage the ribbon cable again. But remember, you also have to be gentle with these, because that was the initial problem we were fixing, is that these were damaged. So we have the ribbon cable all sort of rolled up there, and I'm holding it down there at that point. And so we're trying to keep it small enough that it will pass through the that silver ring there in the hinge. So sort of hold it down here with my my index finger and my thumb, and to keep it closed up, and we're going to stick it through that hinge there. And see, we sort of stick it through there, and it sticks out the other side. We can grab it, unroll it, and it hangs out there. And now we have the ribbon cable through the hinge. That was the hard part. If you got past that, give yourself a pat on the back. Pat on the back, excuse me. But so let's go ahead and get the speakers off of the old LCD right here. So grab your soldering iron, which I forgot to mention at the initial parts list. But we're going to use our soldering iron, and we are going to just melt the solder, get the speaker wires off. Alrighty, and we'll put our old LCD out of the way over there. Grab our new LCD, grab some solder. We were going to tin up these points right here. So basically, just put a little bit of solder on the points here. Alrighty, do all 4 of those. Okay, now grab the speaker with the short wires. That's going to go on this side of the LCD. So grab the red one. It's going to go to positive, and it is labeled on the things here. So you would have the one that we have here is going to go on these top 2 ones, or the 2 points on the right side, and then the other one's going to go on the left side. So this one right here, our positive wire, is on the side closest to the LCD, so we're going to put that on. We're going to put that on there. We're going to put our black wire on. Okay, positive and negative. Now we're going to grab the speaker with the longer wires and do the same thing. And this one is like that, so we're going to put our positive wire on there. We're going to put our negative wire on there. Okay, let's put our soldering iron up. Alrighty. Alright, so our speakers are going to go, the one with the long wires is going to come off of the points there. It's going to go under the corner of the LCD there and wrap around onto the back side. And now we need to put the frame on the LCD, so you can take the frame off of your old LCD, which is the that cover that's on it right now. So we're going to grab our exacto knife, and we are going to stick it under one corner by the adhesive. We are going to sort of just peel up on that and see if we can get that off. And you can see that the frame's coming right off. There's our frame. Careful not to get any dust on it, or else you will forever have dust in your screen, and that will probably drive you crazy. All right, put it in the shell, face down, so that when it is through, you can see it's all lined up there. So put it through the shell there, and grab your exacto knife, or grab your tweezers, or your tool of choice, and you're going to peel off the protective film on the LCD, or on your replacement LCD. We're going to peel that film off, and we are going to flip the LCD over, and we are going to stick it onto that new frame. And if you get any dust on it or something, you can either blow it off or try to get it with your shirt, but I do recommend a can of compressed air that a lot of people use for computers and things to clear dust out. Those work really well. Alright, so let's put our LCD, we're just going to slap it face down. Well, don't slap it, but we're going to put it face down into the indentation in the upper part to line it up for us. And it will be seated in there. The adhesive will stick onto it. And grab our speakers, sort of get those situated. Put one there for now, and we'll grab the other one, and the other one is going to run underneath the camera through to the other side. So let's go ahead and put our speaker wires in there. Below the LCD, you'll see a small little tray area that you can see that the wires will sit in, and that will keep them situated from moving around. So we're going to go ahead and use our tweezers here to sort of just line it up and get it in those holes there. We'll make sure those are all seated down nicely, and then we'll curve around the bottom right edge here. Get those in those other holders on that side. Make sure it's in there. Okay. So now we are going to grab our antenna and microphone. Let's grab the microphone first. Microphone is that peach colored one. We're going to slide it through that hinge on the bottom side underneath the ribbon cable on this side. It'll come through the hinge there. Just slides right through. Put the microphone back in its little hole there. Put the microphone back in there. Put that in the little cable management track. Press that down, make sure it's in there. Okay. We'll grab our antenna and do the same thing with the antenna. Antenna just goes through the hinge there on the inside. So you have those ribbon cables all rolled up in there, and the wires are going to pass right through the middle of that of the roll. So pull that through there, and then we are going to put our antenna there, and make sure your antenna is in the antenna wires in these little cable management tracks. Make sure we get it it out of the way of the camera. Alrighty, now that we have that in there, we are going to put our camera down in the bottom part there. Watch out, your speakers will grab your screwdrivers because they're magnetic. They'll grab them and pick them up. So, got our camera in there, and make sure the camera up here on the top part, make sure that's seated in its little holder there. Alright, now we're going to grab those black mesh things that fell out of the system. We're going to put one in each of the little circles that holds the speakers. So one on each side. And then grab those white rings, and you're going to put that in there also. Make sure it's all situated very nicely. And now we're going to put the speakers in those holes there. So the speakers in there. Sort of wrap the cable up. There should be one little cable management place left for these wires. Alrighty, and we'll do the same on the other side. We'll get the speaker in there and put it through the cable management track. Okay, so now the upper half is done. We are going to join it with the lower inner part, which is this one right here, which the motherboard came out of. So hold the upper half in your right hand, get these cables together, and we are going to slide it to and through that hinge right there. Slide it in through there. Then we're going to grab our ribbon cables, and we're going to go backwards through that little slit there that I mentioned earlier. Going to go backwards through that, and those should just slide right through like that. We'll grab those on the other side, pull them through the hinge there, put the silver thing in there, and close it back up there. So that would be if you didn't have this break right here on the corner, but since we have that break there, we have to replace that part of the shell. In other words, in order to have a better functioning system, so we're going to replace that part of the shell now. Alright, now that we have our new upper half, or our new lower half there, with the replacement hinge and all that stuff, we're going to do the same thing that we just did. Just going to slide that through there, put our ribbon cables through. And don't get upset if it doesn't go through the first time, because it takes much practice to get that through there the first time. And even still, you can see it takes me a bit of work to get that through there. So, got everything in there now. We're going to put our hinge back through. So we're just grab a screwdriver or something, and we're going to push that hinge in the upper part back into the matching place on the lower half. And you also got to make sure you have it lined up. And you can see if it doesn't go in, then that means that it is not lined up. So kind of move it around, make sure we can get it in there correct. Alright, so there we go, got it in there. That took quite a bit of work. But so now we have our hinge in there. So we are going to put the top part of the upper half back on. So you remember the motion before, it was when we had it this way, the top part slid that way and the bottom part slid that way. Well, we are going to do the same thing, but when you put it together, remember that it will be offset a little bit because we had to slide it off. So we're going to put it back on with a little bit of gap down there at the bottom, and then sort of just make sure it's in there, hold it together, and slide the pieces back together with each other. So we'll try to get that back in there. You may have to pop it open and sort of slide it in. There we go. So there we go. Top half is together. So let's go ahead and put those screws back in there so that it will not fall apart. So we're going to put those 4 screws that were underneath those rubber covers, we're going to put those 4 screws back in. Alright, now that we have those 4 screws back in, we can go ahead and put these 4 rubber covers back on over each screw. So let's go ahead and do that. And make sure when you get it in there you press it down nice so that it won't fall back out. Alright, so we got those back in there. Let's go ahead and close it up here, and you can open it up, make sure the hinge is working properly, make sure it snaps in its 2 correct places. So if we have the system like this, when you open it up it should stop right about there. Should stop there, and then it should also stop at 180, so it'll stop at 180 degrees and just a little bit less. So that means you got your hinge in there right. So flip our system back around, and let's go ahead and route these cables here for the microphone and the antenna. So we'll run that through these cable management holes down here. Make sure we get those in there right. Slide it back down through here. And we go there, and we go there, and in we go there. And we'll do the same with the antenna. Sort of sits in a little gap there. It comes around that little post and comes down past the A, B, X, and Y buttons. Past that screw post and where the microphone wire was. So there we go. That's where the cables are going to go. So let's go ahead and grab our motherboard. Here's our motherboard. So remember the LCD and the touchscreen are going to go face down into this. But let's go ahead and hook up the camera on the outside, so we'll lift that black latch up. Grab your camera ribbon cable right here in between your index finger and your thumb. We're going to just put it into that connector there. Or you can also do that with the tweezers, which actually might be a better idea for this case. So let's grab our tweezers, make sure it's in there all the way. Close that black bar down. Make sure it is in all the way, which is good. So flip it over and do the same with the upper LCD ribbon cable. Go ahead and put it into our connector there. Make sure it's all the way in. Close the black bar down. And let's go ahead and put the system down. Make sure you get this ribbon cable right here and the power cable down there. Hold those out of the way, and the system should sit back down in its original place, or the LCD should sit back down in its original place. It may take a little bit of wiggling to get it there. Like that. There we go. Sort of pull those wires up. Okay, so let's go ahead and put the screws back in. So we're going to grab our 3 smaller black Phillips head screws, and we're going to put those back in their place. Alrighty, and we'll grab our last one. And put that in. Now we're going to grab our small silver screw, our tiny little Phillips head silver screw, put that up in the top right of the motherboard. There. And now the motherboard is situated in there. So let's grab our tweezers. We're going to put this ribbon cable back in. Let's lift the black bar up on that. We're going to slide our ribbon cable back in. Make sure it's in all the way. Close the black bar down. Then we're going to grab our power cable right here, and when you're putting in that connector, make sure you set it over the top and push it straight down. And then make sure you get these power cables go in that little cable management holder right there. So we'll come over to this side. We're going to grab our microphone wire. It's going to go back into its little clip on the motherboard. And we'll make sure that's in there all the way. Now we'll grab our Wi-Fi module. Lift that tape back up again. Plug the antenna into the Wi-Fi module, just like we did before. Close that tape back down there. And we are going to plug our Wi-Fi module back into the motherboard where it was. So now we have the system pretty much completely intact, so let's go ahead and put the back cover on. So we have our ribbon cable right here from the back. That's going to line up with the matching one on the motherboard. So sort of hold it out with your index finger and your thumb there, and get it back in the proper place. And it might take a couple tries, a little bit of wiggling to get it in there, but it will go in eventually. So there we go. Have that back in, and now the system, the back should just go straight onto the system. So there we go. So now let's put the screws back in on the back. So we're going to grab all of our silver Phillips head screws, and we're going to start putting screws back in. And this is a new lower inner part, so these screws are going to be sort of tight, for me at least. So we're going to screw all of these back in. There we go. Alright, so now that we have all of those screws in, good. Now we'll grab our little black screw, a tiny little black Phillips head screw, and we are going to put that above the game slot where it was. And there we go. Make sure your buttons are not jammed. So let's put our battery back in, put the battery cover back in. Screw our battery cover down, and we'll grab our little black, the two little black rubbery things that covered up the screws there and there. We're going to put those back in, sticky side down. And there we go. Your repair is now complete. Also double check, I guess, on the inside there, the lower inner shell part and the outer lower shell part sort of meet right there in a sort of interlock there below the lower LCD, so you kind of wiggle it around and it'll snap into place. So those will be joined together, and there you go. Your repair is done.